Hey, I want to welcome everyone here. I'm very surprised that just because I'm speaking tonight, you all decided to come out, but thank you, I appreciate it. The reason I am speaking is because we have to do the election of the chair and vice chair, etc. I have a very limited role, and that is to call for nominations for the office of chair.
I nominated Alyssa Bascom for chair.
That's not how it was listed, I would have. Alyssa Bascom, okay, do we have other nominations? You don't want to run anymore?
No, I do not.
Okay, then I won't nominate. That's fair.
I nominate Kevin Keith as chair.
Okay,
I will not accept that. I'm comfortable in my role as vice chair. I will not accept that.
yeah, okay, so any other nominations? No, so Alyssa, are you comfortable being nominated to such a prestigious body?
I'm
Prestigious.
comfortable knowing that I will have a lot of support from the rest of the board
Okay,
to do the job. Yes.
No further nominations. So right now we have a nomination. It's Alyssa Bascom. One last time, anything further? Does not seem. So without objection, Alyssa Bascom is nominated. All in favor? Okay, and any abstentions or nays? Okay, and my job is done. And we turn it over to you to do the vice chair and what other ones you're gonna do.
Thank you very much. At this time, I will open for nomination for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Kevin Keith for vice chair.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Any other, yeah.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, thank you very much. At this time, I will open nominations for secretary.
I have no idea. I'm not even sure.
I am not secretary. So secretary stands in if the other two can't be there.
So I nominate Jamie to get secretary.
Thank you.
Might have to perhaps take a minute.
You never know, yeah.
All right, are there any other nominations? Is there a second for that nomination of Jamie?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Hearing none, thank you for setting up the secretary. All right. At this point, I will take nominations for treasurer, please.
I nominate Joe Levesque as treasurer.
Second.
Would you like to continue?
I guess so.
He doesn't have a choice.
I don't have a choice.
Well, then I imagine there will be no other nominations, but just in case, are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of Joe Levesque as treasurer?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, thank you all very much. I would like to call this meeting to order, and if everyone will join me for the pledge of allegiance, I would be pleased. All right, thank you.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, I'd like to move that we modify the agenda to add a presentation by our Walpole Attendance Area Principal Justin right after this, and then move the recognition of visitors up before the approval of minutes.
Okay, did everybody hear that?
No.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to amend the agenda to bring forward a presentation from the Walpole Attendance Area Principal and After that, move up the recognition of visitors and public comment to ahead of approval of minutes. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I would like to invite Justin Casarino to present.
All right, hello, everyone. I want to start off by thanking all of our Walpole residents and everything for coming today. It's a very committed family group, students and staff, and I greatly appreciate that. So I just kind of wanted to go over the process with everyone, just to make sure information was clear and direct. So the budget committee proposed a budget, and the school board supported that budget. The community then voted on the budget, which then approved it as well. And then we were asked to then follow that budget line and make the necessary cuts required. So when we went through the budget, looking for positions to cut and everything, so that we could save a teacher in Walpole, I kept coming up short by like $10,000 to $12,000. So I wasn't able to do that. So going back, looking at positions and everything, there is no right cut. So you look at what is the least impactful on students. Is it at the younger grades when you're talking about your early interventions? When we've talked with, and I know Xander Reagan has spoken about how our percentage of IEP students and everything has significantly risen across the district. We're trying to address that, and early interventions will hopefully help with that. So looking at that as one of the main pieces, and then looking at our current 6th grade math and science teacher is where we decided, or I decided to make that cut. Is it detrimental to our students? Absolutely. Do we need to look to make sure that we fall in the line of the budget? Absolutely. So the first time when I was going through this, I was told from a staff member at central office that they found extra money allocated and for the Walpole attendance area budget. And then I would be able to use that and I could save the teaching position. I then brought that forward to our at our admin meeting. And then it was discussed that those funds couldn't be used because it wouldn't be equitable for the surrounding attendance areas. That the mistake was made in Walpole's budget, and we wouldn't have to make a cut, but the other surrounding attendance areas would have to still, so it wouldn't be equitable for them. So then we have to stick with our current plan of cutting the 6th grade math and science position. So that's kind of where we are and what was decided moving forward. But happy to take questions from the board. Yes,
Jamie?
What mistake exactly was made in Walpole's budget?
am I allowed to speak on that?
It's a matter of public record.
Okay, so Mary Henry informed me that a staff member was entered twice and that their salary and benefits were put in twice for that. And that would cover one teaching position for Walpole.
Thank you.
Yes, Sarah.
How does this impact numbers in classrooms for the, I mean, obviously we have to teach math and science, so.
So-
How does this impact, how does it impact students?
So now our 7th and 8th grade math and science teachers will be teaching 6th through 8th grade. And we were doing double blocks in math because we were a school of improvement in math. And now we are going from 8 classes of math a week down to 4 because we have to accommodate these pieces. So it's a huge impact for both math and science. Absolutely.
Numbers in classrooms?
It's still going to remain the same around like 15 to 20.
Okay, so it's not.
It's not
impacting the
it's just,
size of classrooms.
no, yeah.
Okay.
Just.
Yeah.
Just because I heard people asking. Mary Henry is not feeling well today, let's say. And so that's why she's not here.
Okay, thank you. So my question is, currently we have, this is a 6th grade math and science teacher. The current social studies and language arts are all taught 6 through 8?
In
One
Walpole,
person?
our reading, ELA and social studies is 6 through 8.
Okay. And so this would actually then align with the rest of the teaching staff having grades 6 through 8 and fitting that in with the schedule would work in conjunction with that.
It will. It's obviously gonna have, we're gonna have to sit down and make the modifications and everything necessary, because like I said, our class time is going to drop. The number of classes that we're gonna have is going to drop. The amount of time that our teachers have independently with those students is gonna drop significantly as well.
Could you explain class time dropping?
So, well, because originally when we had the 6th grade extra staff member, we were able to do specific, like, I think right now we're currently doing 50-minute blocks, 45 to 50-minute blocks. And that's now, we're gonna have to go to 7-period days to make sure that we have enough staff for covering and stuff like that. Because to be honest, the last thing we want to do is make it so it's like, oh, longer recess, longer, of this and everything like that, when, Walpole is doing well with our academics and the kids are, being exposed to a lot of content and material. So we're with this intervention position, we're hoping that we can kind of help with that, but it's going to take a significant dip. It will.
Can I ask a question? Are any staff members human beings losing their jobs?
No,
No,
We're-
no staff members are losing their
not
jobs.
losing their jobs.
So
They're transferring to other positions.
okay, but they'll either be an interventionist or there'll be a math science teacher.
Yes.
So it's just a shift in terms of in terms of what they're doing.
Yes. Yes.
So that the same amount of teaching availability is there from people.
Well, if they're going from the interventionist position, that's gonna be now K to 6. We could just delegate it for, your 5, 6 interventions, but you're gonna have to then, like I said, look at the schedule and stuff, which we just redid the schedule and now we're gonna be doing it again to accommodate this. But yes, you will have that extra person to work with our 5th and 6th grade students, because that's what their certification is under.
Jamie?
So with the 45 to 50-minute block, 6 periods a day then?
Yes, 5, I believe. And then with study halls and interventions and everything in there as well.
So we'll be going to a 7-period day. How long are those blocks?
Those would be dropped to
40.
40, I believe. Because we went from a 40-minute block to 42 exactly, but we went from a 7-period day and before COVID, and then we switched it because we wanted more time in the classroom, and we saw that the students were actually benefiting from more time being in one place and then not having to move around as much.
Okay.
So I know these conversations are rehashing what we talked about before the vote. But as you said, you were 12,000 short and you couldn't get that because it wouldn't be equitable to the other attendance areas?
No, the mistake that was put into, or the added funds that were put into the Walpole attendance areas budget, and only in Walpole's,
Yeah.
we were told that we couldn't touch that pocket of money because it wouldn't be equitable. The mistake was made in Walpole budget, so they can use that and not have to worry about cutting a teacher. But because the mistake wasn't made in the other attendance areas, it wouldn't be equitable, and they would still have to make those cuts.
Okay, so as the administrative team, was there any consideration, you talk about student impact, right? Was there any consideration to axe the 2-ton dump truck this year and split it between the attendance areas so that you could keep a position or something else? I mean, I assume that must have come up, right? and that wasn't equitable or something?
No, that wasn't the issue. The issue was,
Well, the issue is money, right?
right, the issue is money and the issue is whether or not a cut that you make is sustaining or not sustaining. So if we were to axe the 2-ton truck,
Mhm.
that doesn't negate our need for a 2-ton truck. It just
Puts it off for a year.
puts it off for a year.
Okay.
So I think in terms of when we listen to the budget committee, listen to the board, we had come to that initial meeting and said that, well, really, we'd be better off. We'd like 4, and we came to an agreement, or you guys all came to an agreement on 6.
Okay.
To make it sustainable, you actually have to implement what that is. And so I don't think that we spent a lot of time. I know you had said, if you find the money somewhere else. And my take on that was within their attendance area or their, area.
Or-
Goal.
Another thought that I had, not being an educator, is like Steve Roan brought up vacancy management, which we haven't done in the past, right?
Sure.
As far as money.
Yeah.
It seems like we have vacancies,
We do
and it
currently.
seems like if we think we are only gonna fill half of them, they're all budgeted for, correct?
Yeah, I hope we fill more than half.
I do too, but didn't last year.
We did not. We're coming out of COVID. I think that's still a question, right?
Okay.
As to whether or not you will be able to fill these, or these are positions that are currently unfillable.
Yeah.
If you think about it, so the idea, just in terms of the math interventionist position, was to honor what the school board and the budget committee had asked.
Mhm.
But also honor the fact that we didn't want to reduce positions. That would allow us to use ESSER funds to put in the math interventionist position. If over the course of the next year, the board, the budget committee were to decide, this just isn't cutting it. There's nothing saying you can't put it back in. It's just saying that we were trying to honor your wishes. Ask educators, we're always happy to have positions, okay?
Yeah.
So we're trying to meet the needs that we've been asked to do. We feel that this would have, we being Justin in this case, if you had to make a reduction of a position, this would have the least detrimental effect, but would still have a detrimental effect, which is what we said when we talked about the high school. Which is what we said when we talked about Alstead attendance area. So everything would have some type of a detrimental effect. However, what's the least? So I think sustainability and least detrimental effect were sort of the rationale we tried to use.
So are we gonna hear from Gail this evening on the detrimental effect that these cuts are gonna play in Outstead? I can speak to that.
Oh, you had to open that up. So then are you gonna hear the ones from the high school and then the ones from,
From Charlestown?
yeah,
Well, I guess we want to be equitable, right? Hear everybody's
yeah.
problems.
So what this shows to me, is that this actually puts us in line across the board for the 5 through 6, 5th through 8th grade models. Everybody ends up on the same type of program so that they can all teach the same. So we have teachers who teach math 6 through 8, and 6th graders get the same teacher for 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade now across the board, whereas it hasn't always been that way. We've had 3 different ways of doing things. So I do appreciate this model putting us all in the same place, as long as I've understood that properly.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Well, thank you for working very, very hard to find a solution. Jamie.
I have a question, because I see some other people who maybe have other information about how the model works, which I don't know. But before I get to that question, with your scores, with your science and math scores, I don't know that I've seen them more than once, I think, in the last year. because I came in March, right, and I don't know when. I'm on my hand, that was important while I was driving here today. Sorry, it's the only magic marker I could find, right? So, I would be interested to see those. Yeah, and how that, how that stacks up across the district. Because I think, data helps, right? Data helps inform us of where, maybe our weaknesses are, okay? And then I get the idea of a math interventionist. Did we, or are we, and I'm gonna direct this at Kristen if I might, can I do that?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Did we, or have we, and forgive me for not knowing this, on math curriculum across the districts? Is it standardized, or have we been trying to work towards that?
So we adopted, prior to me coming here 8 years ago, adopted Math and Focus,
Okay.
K-8. We have not done another curriculum adoption, but that is something that we're going to do. We did start looking at a middle school
Okay,
a curriculum adoption, and that was something that we did put into the budget, but that was cut from the budget. So that is something that we need to be working towards. In terms of Walpole's scores, they have always been above the district in terms of their scores. They have always scored very well in terms of our local assessments, whether that was math testing or iReady testing, as well as on New Hampshire state assessments.
and the only reason I ask is because we did have a parent who sent us, I think we all got it, a letter, who couldn't be here tonight, who was concerned about whether or not our children are backsliding because of COVID. And so I know that there are districts that have had, losses in specific areas.
And we've had losses, that is true. Our students have regressed in terms of grade levels. But we are seeing that come back up, as has the rest of the country as well. I've been watching NAEP scores that have been coming in, that was done in the fall. And they're seeing NAEP scores that were done last year, those are starting to rebound as well, but it's gonna take a couple of years. This is not something we did backslide very quickly, but we're back basically where we were 20 years ago. Or 15 years ago, but they are rebounding, and we've seen that across the district. We are seeing growth from where we were prior to COVID.
Might I follow up to Alyssa?
Please.
So, and I'm not an educator, as everybody knows here. I'm only on the other side of this. So knowing that they're trying to look towards updating a math curriculum, knowing that they're hoping to do this district-wide, knowing that we've got millions of dollars in ESSER funds coming, or ARPA, ESSER, right, I think. What's that?
ARP ESSER is ESSER 2, which will end in September.
Okay.
ESSER 3 is the following.
Okay, they took the ARPA off there.
They did.
It might make sense then to look at a math interventionist district-wide.
At least for Walpole,
Or do we have title monies for the other? Yeah,
we
okay,
could, I mean, I think that we are looking at academic interventionists across the district in
Okay.
each one of our attendance areas.
okay,
I think that Justin has looked at making that 5th grade, or that teacher that was
Yeah.
at Walpole Elementary School, an academic interventionist specifically in math, because she's very strong,
Sure.
in content in math, and specifically having that teacher work at the K-6 level, because we can use that at the elementary levels, to boost math in those areas where we are seeing some dip in math,
okay.
and boosting that so that we can see that rise. And then hopefully we can restore that position at the elementary school in a future budget.
Thank you.
Kevin.
Good question. So you said your ELA model is 6 through 8 currently. How do Walpole's ELA scores compare to the rest of the district too, since that's a regular model?
Do you want to speak to that? or you
It's the
want-
same. We're above the district and state average as well. in
Yeah.
both.
Walpole always does exceptionally well. In both math and ELA.
We don't score social studies.
No, we do not. We do science. Social studies is not required by federal law
Science.
or by New Hampshire. We care about social studies, but New Hampshire does not,
They're working on it.
in terms of federal accountability.
And I think one of the big things with us having that ELA reading, you're covering so much more curriculum and content with the kids. And you can't, it's harder to look at that when you do it 6th through 8th through math, because you're not covering as much. You're not able to do it same thing. As the reading and ELA model is. So,
The only caveat that I will say about social studies is that New Hampshire does care about graduation requirements for our seniors that are going to place next year. With the US civics exam and graduation requirements. So,
Jamie, did you have another question?
I had a question for the board. So I vaguely remember at our deliberative meetings, right, when we were discussing, the budget that was brought forward from the budget committee. And when we were talking amongst ourselves that, and I get the equity thing totally, right? And I think that's wonderful that you as an administration, all of you felt that was important enough to try to be sure that there was no one advantage over the other district, because I think that's important for us to grow together. But I vaguely remember us saying that if you wanted to not make a cut of 74,000, I think it was 500 or whatever the number was, that if you could find that in other areas, that was something that we would contemplate, was it not?
Well, Justin said that he looked at his budget and couldn't find it.
Right, but I mean, I think we had that conversation. I don't know that it doesn't make sense, I don't think, for all of the different locations. I don't know that it makes sense for this one, but I'm just saying, I think we had those conversations so that, after we hear from everybody and we just think about it or whatever we do, I don't know that it's up to us to make those decisions and choices. I think it's the superintendent and his administrators to make those decisions and choices ultimately, because we don't run the programs of the school, right?
Right, I mean, we said that it was, that it was ultimately, I'm sorry. Can I speak?
Please continue.
I'm kind of used to being able to just talk. We said that, that we were very clear that it was the administrators that they would work together with the superintendent to make the final decision in terms of where things stood. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I would make one other statement to that, I know that that the principals from Charlestown have worked very hard to reorganize how their schools are set up so that they were able to meet the requirements of the budget, and they were able to meet the request, kind of meet the requirements of the budget and the suggestion, because it was a suggestion, it's not a requirement, but it's the suggestion from the budget committee of bringing, of reducing the number of positions that were in their attendance area, and they did it in a creative, in a very creative way. So, and that is pretty significant. What's going on there in terms of what's happening. So that brings to me the question of equity even stronger. Because we do have a town that has done a lot of work to restructure and to change things. And I hear you saying that you're going to have to look at your schedule and you're going to have to look at how it's put together. And that is that kind of what is being asked, is that you look closely at that and the way that is.
We're more than happy to do that, but it's
Yeah.
just as much, as some of these other attendance areas going through and doing those grade level changes, like, we have now 2 staff members that would be doing 6th grade, so they're gonna have to do that curriculum work and everything over the summer, just like they are. So, I condemn them for doing that. And then also our interventionists now going the K-6 stuff as well too. So absolutely.
And the curriculum work, can I just keep on going? I'm sorry. And the curriculum work over the summer, is that paid work? That's not volunteer work?
That's another discussion. I think that's going to be coming up tonight. So.
Because that is significant, as many years of being a teacher, that is significant. I spent a lot of time in the summer doing curriculum work that I didn't get paid for, but if it was because of a specific change,
Mhm.
then I kind of asked that I did get paid for it, so.
Absolutely.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else for Justin?
Thank you
very
Jessica.
much. Okay. I am going to open the floor to public comment. There's a few things I'd like to lay for groundwork first. We do want to hear from everybody, so we do have a 3-minute limit. We ask that you try to stay within that. We're not gonna shut you off mid-sentence, but please do be respectful of such things. I ask that you do come to the front, announce your name, who you are, where you're from, most of which we would know. I do also ask that if you have something to say, that it be something new, and if you are standing up to agree with somebody else, you acknowledge that that is what you are there to do, and not simply rehash things that have already been said. So all of that being said, would anybody like to join us? Oh, and I would also like to ask that if your cell phones are still live, if you could please silence them. Please. A little bit, no?
Hi, I'm Kim Lewis. I'm a Walpole resident and a former teacher at Walpole School. Sorry, I haven't spoken in front of people. I appreciate the time. There's two things I want you to understand, because I know you want it to be equitable among Vilas Charlestown and Walpole School. And Walpole's always prided themselves on really working for excellence, as I'm sure all schools have. And in being a school in need of improvement in math, that's where we decided to really double up 6th grade math and double up 7th grade math. So the kids would get, is that right, Lisa? They got 2 6th grades math and two 7th grade math. So that's 222 extra contact hours that those kids in middle school get, that if we go back to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers, teaching all one subject line, they will miss 222 contact hours over the 3-year period. And so it's not just, oh yeah, it works within the schedule. Do you see what I'm saying? It's serious, serious loss of time. Now, if you want to put my second point, and I'm almost done. Justin wants to do an interventionalist or interventionist, whoever one says that. And help the kindergartens, the 1st grade, the 2nd grade, the 3rd grade. That's all positive. But if you let them do what they're doing as they are now, and then the 6th grade teacher and the 7th and 8th grade teacher have those extra 222 contact hours, I swear to God, they will bring those students up to parity and to, as Lisa said, she works her butt off to really prepare the kids for high school, 7th and 8th grade teacher, Lisa Mulhern, so that when they go to high school, math is not a limiting factor for them in anything that they want to choose for their career. Math is always a limiting factor for so many kids, right? But she works her butt off to make sure that's true. So I would just say to consider, Justin or whoever's deciding these things, maybe you don't go with the interventionist, but you do remain with the current program where they get so much more contact hours. I haven't even talked about science, which is my passion, but
You have time.
no, it's all good. But I appreciate your time. Just please understand, it's not just simply, oh, it works well within the schedule to have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. There's a big loss there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mariah Bascom. I am a resident of Walpole, and I am here to share with you a letter from the site-based committee. Sorry, I wasn't aware that you hadn't gotten a copy of that earlier.
Thank you. Would you like this read into the minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Would you like to read it, or I can read it out loud?
It's good. Please go ahead.
Okay. The Walpole Site-Based Committee met on April 5th, 2023 to discuss the implications of the district budget passed by the community on March 28th, 2023. It is the committee's understanding that district administrators have directed elimination of a position from the Walpole attendance area to meet the approved budget. After careful deliberation of impacts, the position identified is a sixth grade math and science teacher at Walpole Elementary School. The STEM program currently used in Walpole provides students with double math classes, which supports a reinforcement of core concepts. Walpole students currently lead the district in math and science testing and test above the state average in these disciplines. This is a confirmation that the current curriculum and staffing model used in Walpole is effective. The elimination of this math and science position will significantly reduce the number of instruction hours available to students in math and science. In a world where STEM education is critical to the success of students, it is short-sighted to disadvantage these students in vital areas of their curriculum. Rather than eliminate valuable instruction for Walpole students, we encourage the board to study its program to consider how a similar model might benefit other attendance areas as well, and provide all students within the district equitable opportunities for success in STEM fields. During the budget deliberation process, there were many discussions about class size, combination classes, and declining enrollment within the district. The warrant article for the budget presented to voters on March 28th indicated unanimous support for the reduced budget from both the school board and the budget committee. The Walpole Site-Based Committee opposed this budget, but for the first time in more than 20 years, the committee was prohibited from sharing its opinion on the proposed budget. Would the voters have made a different decision if they knew teaching positions were going to be eliminated? That is impossible to gauge at this point, but many voters may not have fully understood the consequences of their vote. Now our students must live with those consequences. Budgets have fixed costs as well as fluid costs that are often adjusted. The Walpole Site-Based Committee respectfully requests that the school board direct the administration to look at any and all alternatives to meet the budget requirements for 2023 to 2024 that do not include the reduction of teaching positions. We understand that there may be some funds available within the budget that, if not used, will be returned to the participating towns on a percentage basis. Taxpayers approve budgets in the interest of students within their communities. All funds available in the budget should, therefore, be allocated to support the instruction of these students. We are committed to saving these positions for the 2023-2024 school year. We further recognize that funding in subsequent years will be subject to approval of the district budget. Thank you for your considering this critical request from the Site-Based Committee.
Thank you.
Thanks. I did have a follow-up question. Since I have read this, am I done with my time as a taxpayer and parent? Since I was the speaker for the Site-Based Committee.
I think that only took like 2 minutes.
How's the board doing?
Okay. Thank you. Thanks. I can let somebody else come up and share first, I guess.
My name's Andrea Vickers-Everett. I'm from Walpole, New Hampshire. I have 3 students in Walpole. I'm also reading a letter from somebody else, but I have my own questions, so. Back to this. This is, sorry, it's on my phone. A letter from Sue Leon. A Walpole resident.
Yeah, we all.
Received it.
Oh, no, received it.
Yeah, so we can read that in if you want to do your thing.
Is that okay? Yeah, okay, okay. That makes me feel better. So I have some questions. I think that the word equitability has been said quite a bit. And I understand as a district perspective that we want the 3 attendance areas to have equitability, which I think the last time that I talked to you guys, that was something that I stated. So when the budget was considered and the loss of positions was considered, I wondered how the equitability of the losses was considered. Was that based off of funds? So was there a number that was then split by 3? No.
Not at all.
No,
So was it?
To my knowledge, the administrative team, all the principals met and decided amongst themselves the equitability of the cuts.
We were asked to cut a certain number of positions.
Okay,
In
But
doing,
not by us,
no, by the budget committee.
budget
What would it look like?
they suggest.
Right, which was the 8 positions. We, as an admin team, met and said, okay, what does that look like? Well, we think that the high school could do 2, doesn't want to, but they
Right.
could do 2. Charlestown could do 2. And then when we came back the other time, we tried to reduce, well, we did say that we would like it to be 4, I think, total.
Right.
And we collectively came to an agreement on 6. So then you have 6 positions theoretically that you're going to reduce. And what does that look like? And that was 2 at the high school, 2, 1 and 1, because the impact was perceived to be harder to meet that at Walpole and at Alstead.
that makes sense.
I would like to thank you for your clarification of that, and I allowed it in, but going forward, this is
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
not a
Yeah.
question and answer.
Oh, it's not a question.
No.
Simply
Okay.
I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Okay, well then, if we're looking at the equitability of the middle schools. The Walpole Middle School in this format would have 1 math teacher. I can't ask, and I can guess how many math teachers are in Charlestown. 3,
population's larger.
okay, that's a good point, right? How many math teachers are there in Violet?
1.
1 for all.
Again, we will not.
Okay,
have
okay, I'm
That,
just.
those things will come up, later on when they make their presentation
Yeah.
about how they're gonna reorganize.
Okay. Just something to consider. It is important and there is a difference. So I think. Not a question. I mean, this is a question. But I think the bottom line of what we want to know is, can we put the money back in to add this teacher? That's what we want. If we have the funding, are we allowed to do it? That's really the bottom line. Are we allowed to do it? What do we need to do? Propose to do it? You can't answer me.
We will take it.
Yes.
Your advisement. Yeah. Thank you, Andrea.
Hi, I'm Wes Vickers from Walpole. Just some statements. So we have 3 branches in this school district. We have the budget committee, and they came across to us and said, here's your budget. Now, we're not talking about going over the budget. We're talking about staying under the budget. So we've met the budget committee's edict that this is where we want to be. So we've done that. So the next thing is, where do we go from there? We go to the school board. So the school board has to decide, as we just said, is it fair and equitable to everybody? So I think the answer is yes, every attendance area was given the same opportunity. In the case of Walpole, Justin was able to find some other funds to pay for that teacher, wasn't able to use them. Then the other thing the school board has to look at as an administrative unit, what's the outcome? Is this particular attendance area doing a good job? And we just heard, and if we look, Walpole is rated in the top 20% in the state. Do we want to blow that up? Or do we want to use it for the rest of the attendance areas to use as a model? That would make more sense to me. And then the consensus, the last thing, which is where the rubber meets the road sort of, is the taxpayer. And at the site-based meeting, the common theme was, we are the residents of Walpole. We are the site base. We were told we would have some input. It's our money and we want to spend it. Why can't we?
I'm Thelma Lyon, I'm a resident of North Walpole. I have 2 kids, one in the Fall Mountain High School, one in the North Walpole School. My question would be, or statement, how is this going to affect those with special needs? And this year especially, I've seen a major jump in my youngest, especially in the math program. He's gone from a pre-K level to a 2nd grade level. Is this going to hurt him more later on when he gets into the middle school? He's working really hard. I don't know, if Justin, a lot of people knows this. You know, I don't want this to hurt him. And I know this is gonna hurt him.
Hi, I'm Roberta Nelson and I live in North Walpole. There's a difference. I can't ask a question, but I would like to make the statement that when I was on the school board, the only people that could touch the SAU budget was the school board. Therefore, if we've cut Alston and we've cut Walpole and we've cut Charlestown, what have you cut in the superintendent's office? And I just heard that there are vacancies that they hope to fill. And I'm saying, we're gonna pull one of those and we'll fund in these 3 areas equally. So if it's a $50,000 position, everybody gets 17.5. The school board's the only one that can do that.
Mariah, do you want to come make your 2nd statement?
Sorry,
I
I wanted some separation between reading the article and my questions as a parent and taxpayer. Mariah Bascom from Walpole again.
I just want to clarify that this is not a question and answer session.
Yes.
Okay.
One of the main reasons behind the Charlestown withdrawal, from my understanding, was the desire for towns to have more local control over their elementary schools and budgets. And if the school board is, I would like the school board to look into the possibility for the future years coming up, if there is a possibility of separating out the K-8 budgets to be voted on per town. I don't know the articles of agreement, but it would be a good thing to be looking into is if each of the towns really want more local control and more local decisions, if we'd be able to separate those budgets out to be able to go each town separately on their own budget. And speaking of equity, are there programs or opportunities that the other schools have that Walpole doesn't? That's something that we should make sure that if we're comparing apples and apples, that it's not apples and oranges. You know, it's, okay, so Walpole may have an extra teacher in this area. Is there something that's available in Charlestown or Vilas that maybe we don't? So it's not just because we have this one position, doesn't mean that there's other towns don't have the other, some other opportunities. And how do we improve as a district if we're holding each other back and not letting successful programs like this extra math teacher continue? We've already restructured our grade levels to be together in each building. North Walpole has second, third, and fourth grade together. So we've already, before, when North Walpole was separated, the class sizes were smaller. So we've already gone through that restructuring in our town to try to help with the class sizes. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carolyn LaBelle, and I'm a resident of Walpole. I'm here tonight to express my deep concern over the elimination of the math teacher at the school. Others have spoken about the consequences of the change to the students and the need to make appropriate adjustments to save this position. And I too believe that the position is critical to maintaining the very successful STEM program that Walpole has. A September 2021 article published by the National Science Foundation includes data that shows when comparing US test scores to our closest economic competitors, our scores are in the last place in math, in the middle of the pack in science. Math scores have not improved for more than a decade. Julia Phillips of the National Science Board states that there must be an all hands on deck approach to high quality math and science education, and it must begin in the elementary grades. A few weeks ago, 15 young Ukrainians who are science and technology entrepreneurs arrived in the US. They were part of a special program where they will spend 6 months working with experts in the field of science and technology innovation. During their welcome week in Washington, D.C., they met with Oksana Makarova, who's the ambassador to the US from Ukraine. She highlighted the importance of science and technology innovation in securing Ukraine's future, and she told this group of young people that when they win the war with Russia, their efforts in science and technology will be the key to rebuilding their country. Why do I share this story? Because we are so blessed to live in wonderful communities where we have the resources to provide our children with the best education available. If a country devastated by war can make STEM a priority, how can we possibly fail to also make that a priority? Walpole has a math and science model that works. It's proven by the district and state test scores, and to disadvantage our students by eliminating this math position simply makes no sense. It does nothing to give our students the best we have to offer them in preparing for the math, science, and technology of the future. Yes, the voters approved a budget, but I truly believe if they had known that their vote would reduce teaching positions, they would have made a different choice. To accept that we must live with the consequences of that vote is not acceptable. And we need to turn over every leaf and find every nickel available to see where funds can be reallocated within the approved budget to meet the shortfall. And maybe that means a dump truck. While I know that there was a great deal of work that went into the approved budget, there are always fluid costs that can be managed. And I implore you to take another look and find those funds. Folks, we can do better. We should do better, and we must do better. Our children deserve this effort, and I'm confident that we can find the funds to save these positions. Ask for a copy of what? Could we have, would you share that with us so we could have that, maybe a copy or something?
Yes, that's me.
Yeah.
Can I make a copy before we
Hi, I'm Heidi Plummer. I'm a resident of Alstead and a teacher in Walpole.
And I'm just reading a letter from a parent who couldn't be here today. Oh, sorry, student. To whom it may concern, the education children receive at Walpole is exceptional. It challenges the student and prepares them for the future, whatever that may be. With how the world has become, we must set our kids out with as much knowledge and understanding as possible. As important as art, music, history, and English. As important as art, music, history, and English are, the basis of everything is math and science. I'm incredibly saddened and disappointed to have heard of the cut of the math science teacher at Walpole Middle School. Had I not had the math and science training I did, my success in high school and now college would not be possible. Deciding to eliminate a teacher and therefore over 200 hours of math science for the students would be detrimental to the potential and future of those students. Walpole and SAU60 as a whole strive to set up each student for success. Taking away essential learning from students goes against every mission statement our district has. I wholeheartedly believe that I owe a large portion of my success in secondary education to my middle school math teacher, Lisa Mulhern, and my middle school science teacher, Kim Lewis. There is no benefit to taking away a teacher. Our kids and younger generations need all the education they can get. I hope our voices are heard and change is made, if not for us, for the kids. Thank you, Nora Dunnigan. Hi, I'm Sarah Manning from Walpole, and I've heard a lot about the great job the teachers do in Walpole, and I do have two students, one is graduating and one is in high school. But I think the bigger thing is the teachers. And I work with a lot of the teachers now teaching boot camp, and if we're taking 200 hours away from a teacher and putting it on to another teacher, how successful are these teachers going to be? We have so many teachers right now that are feeling overwhelmed, overworked, especially due to COVID, and how much they're having to work forward, having to work with different personalities and everything. That if we start putting more work onto our teachers, what's that going to happen to our students? And we need healthy teachers in order to help healthy students. So it's not just about the students, it's also about these extra hours you're asking all these teachers to do over the summer. So they give up their summers to get ready to take even more hours onto their bodies. And I have to say, I really hope we start helping our teachers out, because it's really sad to see them crumbling.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lisa Mulhern. And for the past 13 years, I've been the 7th and 8th grade math teacher in Walpole. Those who know me well know that I believe wholeheartedly in striving for excellence in all I do. I spent the first 6 years of my teaching career at Fall Mountain. During my time as a high school teacher, I struggled with feeling that no matter how hard I worked, it was too little, too late. Many students weren't adequately prepared for the rigors of high school mathematics. So when a position opened up at the middle level in Walpole, I made the decision to switch to the younger grades so I could change that and make a bigger difference in the lives of students. However, then I started in Walpole and realized that much of the problem was in the minimal time set aside for math instruction at the middle level. My first few years, the 8th grade class only received 45 minutes of math 4 times a week. And while I continued to do my best for kids, I continued to feel as if my best was still not enough. Then a blessing came in disguise. We went from a 7-8 middle school model to a 6-7-8 middle school, which opened up the opportunity to remake our schedule. I worked closely with Sam Jacobs and Kim Lewis to increase the amount of instructional time in math and science for our middle level students. Finally, I felt as a teacher that I could excel. And more importantly, that I was sending students to the high school with the skills and tools necessary to excel. Thanks to the benefits of having an additional math and science position. Reflective of this is the fact that over half of our students go on to take honors level math at the high school. Many of our students, such as Nora Dunnigan and Patrick, then go on to pursue careers in math and science. My biggest fear is that with the loss of this position and the loss of over 200 hours of math instruction over the 3 grades, I'll be forced back into doing my best and finding that it's only adequate and not excellent.
Hi, I'm Jackie Ronning, and I'm a teacher in Walpole School. I teach 5th grade. I would like to talk a little bit about my children. My children went through the program in Walpole School. They were accepted at Tier 1 schools. They have great math skills because of the program they went through with Lisa. Kathy was there also helping out. And they made the decision to go to a state college because they understood, due to these people and high school classes, that they were actually going to save money. So they are currently doing their bachelor's degree at a state college with the understanding that they're going to be going on for masters and possible PhDs. That didn't happen because they had a adequate math program and science program. It happened because they had a significantly high level of instruction. It's imperative that that be equitable. I do agree with that. But I'm here to advocate for my 5th grade students. My students are very needy this year. Many of them have increased by 1, 2, even 3 grade levels. Yet we are still not where we are supposed to be. This particular class, and Justin could speak to this particular class is probably in the top 3 of my neediest classes in 36 years of service to the district and 38 years of service overall. I'm here to tell you, my students need this math teacher, this position. It's critical to their future. Why should they get less than the Ronning children? Why shouldn't they have equal or better?
Greg Vickers, Walpole. First, I want to say, Miss Ronning, my daughter is one of those students. So I'm well aware. I'm well aware of following that class as a coach through as well. You know, she's gonna get her extra hours through myself and her mother. But I know that if there was a teacher that was doing this work, that'd be a hell of a lot better than me. And they'd probably listen more than if it were me. So thank you, wherever you disappeared to. Are you back there? You know, I heard this. And when I was on the board, I heard about equity. And from an administrative perspective, it would be impossible to approve something that was not equitable across all of the schools that are within your district. I mean, it would be impossible. You couldn't actually sit down and be like, I want this school to have more. However, I want you all to just turn around and look at who is here and how many people are here that are in support of the teachers and the school. You know, there was a lot of discussion throughout the last few years about giving a voice to the site-based committees. Charlestown has done an incredible job of bolstering their site-based committee. They've done a lot of work. And Walpole has continued on. There's probably going to be some questions that come out of my mouth, so just don't answer them. But why in 20 years were we not able, as a site-based committee, and I really shouldn't say we because I've not been a part of it. But why was the site-based committee not allowed to share their opinion on the budget? Why is opportunity at the lower end of the scale than equity when a populace wants to support opportunity for their students? Why is that group not allowed to share that with the citizens of their town? It just, to me, doesn't make any sense. Why is Walpole not a model, as has been said before? It's just, it's frustrating. To see it, and it is the driver of the reason for the local control aspect. So, thank you all, appreciate it.
Wes Vickers from Walpole again. I think we've all heard what Walpole's feelings are, but I just wanted to share, this is a letter that was written from a committee that I was on in 2019. I'm not going to say who's on the committee. Some of the people in this room were on the committee. But
Would you like to share the letter with the group?
Hmm?
Would you like me
I'm
to?
going to give everybody. This was sent to the school board. It was never addressed back then. But this sort of affirms that it's not just Walpole. This is the entire district. This was a committee of everybody in the district that we got together. And I'm not gonna sit here and go over this entire letter, but what it's asking is what's been stated here. Let each attendance area have their own control. That's one of the main issues in here. And if you read here, it says, I'm gonna just read the last sentence of the first paragraph. We have had several meetings to look at ideas that could help bring about harmony. That's what we're looking for, Walpole, right? To have harmony within the district with everybody. And so here it is. It's not just the Walpole people. This committee was everybody in the district. And the school board has the names, but
Is there anybody else who hasn't spoken who would like a moment?
Kathleen Sherrod, live in Alsted. Sorta teacher at Walpole. So my name is Kathleen Sherrod and I've worked at Walpole Elementary for almost 7 years. Before coming to this district, I taught in 2 other states and was very thankful to see that this district was concerned for students' academics, as well as their social and emotional well-being. Students weren't just numbers. It wasn't just a business. By losing the sixth grade math and science position, I feel that this will change. The sixth grade math and science position not only provides more math, as we've heard the numbers, to the sixth grade, but also to the other math levels, seventh grade, eighth grade, which allows the students to enter the high school with a deeper understanding of math and more confidence, which is needed in math and science. It also assists the students with transitioning from fifth grade to the middle school model by having the students spend half of their day with that sixth grade math and science teacher whose sole focus is with them. This position allows more one-on-one time with the students to provide growth in mindset in math, reduce anxiety, or provide intervention. One of the things that attracted me to this district is the fact that the interest of the students drove decision-making. And I hope what is best for the students' academics and well-being is still the case. I'm hopeful that this board will continue to make decisions based on what's best for the students, not just numbers.
Last call for anybody who else would like to speak. Seeing none, I am going to close public comment. Thank you all very much for being here. At this point, I will see if anybody would make a motion on the minutes of previous meeting.
Make a motion to accept the March 20 publics and non-public session minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, at this point, I will ask for the reports of our superintendent.
Sure. So a positive, because we decided we were positive, negative, something we should know. So a positive coming from our last workshop, we do have the correct policy. Okay, we have all of the correct policies. What we didn't have online was the procedure that went with it.
Right.
And we are going to add a section that is those. A concern is, I believe the last day for staff now is June 26th. So if we, yeah, it's getting kind of late. And then something I want the board to know, and I did let the board know, but I'm gonna kind of put it out a little more broadly, is we did have a situation, an incident today at the high school where weapons were found in a pond. We're investigating it. We have our attorney involved, the police were involved. We don't believe there was any imminent threat to any of our students or staff or anything like that. They were just in the car.
I'm
In fact,
sorry. I have to, but I got a phone call today
yeah,
at 3:30.
Yeah.
To tell me that ammunition, 2 shotguns, and a handgun
correct.
were found in the student's car in the freaking,
I'm gonna ask you to wait and let him finish his report, please.
okay,
Thank you.
because
I
that's a
can hear.
major deal.
Well,
Major.
yeah.
It is.
It certainly is something that there are very specific rules about what we do in those
I
situations.
understand that.
And we have done those specific things. All individuals are always availed due process, and this will be true in this case. I think it's probably, well, probably nothing is comforting in today's world, but it's probably comforting to know that we have the state police with us, and they worked with the administration. They were here at the time.
Which is 100% appreciated.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I have a phone call into our attorney in order to make sure that we follow the process we're supposed to follow. But if you look at school board policy JICI, it will guide anyone with questions towards what our obligation is as a school.
Which is fantastic. but I have two children in your high school in a very
I get it.
small district.
I wish society was different.
And shotgun.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna need to know, and I'm sure I'm the
Well-
only one of positive that teachers and parents.
I will
and
not say anything I
everyone-
can't say, and I will say anything I can say.
What are we going to do to make sure our children are safe?
We're gonna change society, and I can't do that.
I understand that. I actually work in the legal division for CCYF, so.
Yep, you're in the same boat.
I'm gonna ask that we please,
Yeah, I'm just trying
stop
to
the
give my
public comment.
report.
This is just a superintendent report.
Yeah,
This is something we are going to look at. It's something we are going to add to a future agenda.
You're not gonna add it to tonight's agenda to adjust.
There's nothing.
There is nothing to add to this particular agenda tonight that we can change.
And she,
I was remoting, I got a phone call. I didn't know.
no,
My
excuse me,
son is very
public comment was during public comment, and it would have been good if you had stood up, you would have had you would have had your
I
2
had-
minutes.
I didn't realize that this was about Walpole. I was only here because of shotguns and anything.
Well, it was public comment, so if we can let our superintendent complete his report,
Yeah,
that would be helpful, okay? If you can
I'm
sit
done,
down
by
and
the way.
wait.
I'm all set.
And that's the school board.
No,
You were given an opportunity to
That's
speak.
appreciated, that. Thank you. It's.
Do we let him speak at the end of the meeting?
Public comment again at the end of the meeting. What's the feel of the board?
Fine with me.
Okay.
Jamie?
I do have one concern though. If I'm hearing that people aren't getting notified appropriately, I would encourage those people to please call the school district and find out why.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it went out to the whole high school staff.
So,
That's my
Just the staff?
understanding. No, I meant staff and family. Is that accurate, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I got.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm a parent, I got the call, my
Yes.
husband got the call.
okay,
Yeah.
so if anybody did not, then they should be encouraged to contact the school district immediately to
Correct.
find out why.
Correct.
And Melissa, can I just say something? The other part of that is that if anyone at any time has a question about how we are dealing with something, calling central office and talking to Misty and setting up a time to be able to talk to the superintendent is always available. So that you can understand, because I'm not happy that she left angry, but this is not the spot, the person to talk to is the superintendent about how those things are happening and what's going on with that. So please, if anyone knows her, if you can talk to her about that if she has concerns, to please.
Thanks.
Please contact the
Because I didn't
superintendent.
get
with
any
questions.
sound out of that.
What?
There was no.
Name, no town, no nothing.
I know who she is.
Yeah, she does too.
And she's going out to talk. I think we have someone chasing her down.
I think she can go on to other people.
Okay.
I wrote that.
You want to?
People sit.
All right, thank you.
I just wrote on it, sorry.
Oh, no, I did it.
Alyssa, if you want to scan, if you want to give them to me, I can scan them in and forward them out, and I'll also link them into the minutes. That's usually what I do if somebody reads a letter, so,
Perfect.
yeah, if you want to just give them all to me, I'll make sure the board has a copy of them.
Are you doing that one?
Thank you.
We're ready for the next report.
Yeah.
All right, at this time, can we hear from Gail?
I submitted the report today, so I'm just gonna highlight what's in there. Our parent-teacher conferences were very well attended. Violet's had the first student-led conferences since 2019, and all of the schools, we had 84 to 89% school. Well, for the Violet's, it was student-led, so it was students and parents. So between 84 and 89% attendance. Sarah Porter was a little lower at 79. And what I'd like the board to know, our facilities has worked hard to get the new split switches for locks so that teachers don't have to use keys anymore to lock the doors from the inside for a lockdown. It's just this flick that the light brings red, and so I told teachers today, practice, we're gonna lock down. And also, we have a science fair coming up April 18th and a Sarah Porter concert April 20th that you're all invited to. One concern, APS just had water outlets lead tested. And as you may have heard, the new requirements have the lead levels are supposed to be 15 parts per billion. And it's been dropped and lowered to 5 parts per billion. 9 of our 22 drinking water outlets were above that level. So hand wash signs have been posted, and facilities is taking steps to do what they need to do to replace faucets and whatever else is required. The water hydration station is fine. That's it.
Thank you. Charlestown? Who wants to go? Go ahead.
I'm short. Our behavior action plan that we have done with Fun Fridays has been implemented the last 2 weeks and has shown positive results with behavior. A negative, restructuring and asbestos removals, most likely gonna limit access for this summer, which will pose some problems for configuration. But one positive thing, we are meeting with certain teams to talk about the restructuring, and we met with transportation today. And most likely, we have a good transportation will stay very similar, and will actually hopefully get students home quicker than our current model that we have running this year. So that is a positive moving forward.
Charlestown Middle School and North Charlestown Community School. North Charlestown Community School has enjoyed a lot of enrichment activities in the last couple of weeks. They went to a Math Maniac show at the Colonial Theater in Keene, which they loved. It was a production that brought math to life, so to speak. And they also built a backyard evaporator and boiled syrup from the trees on the property that they tapped. And they have a literacy Title I night coming up. It's supposed to be this Wednesday. There's a lot of, there's a stomach bug going around North Charlestown right now, so we may reschedule that. A third of our kids were absent today. But that will be happening soon, and each grade has a literary performance that they've prepared. Everything from their own authored poetry to a Tortoise in the Hare rendition and some other things for those students. And then in terms of the middle school team, I have teachers, although this kind of seems funny to say tonight because the restructuring is just a reality that we've accepted. But because we've accepted that as our reality, we have teachers who are very excited about next year and the possibilities of how they can change their instruction, where they can focus. Every single teacher in my building is teaching different grade level and content next year than what they're doing this year, every single one. And so there is support that's going to be needed for them this summer in order to prepare for that. Additionally, we need to build a wall and add a bathroom in order to fit a couple of grades of kids in there and 3 additional adults, 2 interventionists and a special educator. So we are meeting this week to talk about how we make that happen, because in order to physically fit humans in the building, we have some work to do. So similar to Charlestown Primary, I'm not sure the availability of my building at the middle school this summer for anything other than just prepping for next school year and opening next school year. But the staff are excited. They've actually asked for extra staff meetings so they can talk about it more. It's optional, of course, but we will be feeding them. So if anybody wants to contribute to feeding people, please let me know. And we'll go from there.
Fantastic.
I have a question.
Yes.
With the asbestos removal, was that scheduled and voted on with a warrant article from special funds, or was that from regular district funds, do you know?
Not sure on that one.
Don't have that answer. I believe it was through ESSER funds, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
Yeah.
you may want to maybe speak with Mary and Bill to see, in light of what's going on, to maybe if they can push that out 1 year because it's encapsulated, right? So it's not an emergency, it's not an emergency situation. So if you need that time because of the restructure, if it doesn't, if it's not a special warrant article.
I think it's in 2, but
Okay.
I'd have to see if she could shift it to 4.
Sure. Yeah. Just a thought.
No, appreciate it.
That's a good suggestion.
I think what it comes down to is we want to get the project done. It is a pretty substantial project. And there are other ways into the building, which is going to be more difficult.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. See if it fits,
Yep.
though, in order for you to be able to open with everything in the right place.
Yep.
Yeah, because some of the grant funding goes, another.
One more year.
Yeah, 1 more year. They're 2, 3 year segments.
Doesn't 2 end in September, Brandon?
2 does end in September.
I got that one.
Yeah.
3 does not.
Till December.
And you can also hope that they push it off, but they're not looking like they're gonna.
Justin, do you have anything to?
Things that we want to celebrate, our 6th and 7th graders are going to be going to the Boston Museum of Science this Thursday. They're very excited for this opportunity, and it gives students kind of the chance to get to the city. Because that could be their only opportunity for that. Our 8th graders, on April 20th, will be traveling to Fenway Park for the entire day. From 8 o'clock to 11:30, they're going to be doing STEM projects. And our school was asked to create an egg drop device that they will be dropping off the green monster to see if it survives. And then after, they get to have lunch and kind of interact with players and everything, and then they get to watch a game at 1:30. So they're very, very excited for this opportunity. Something to know, throughout this year, I've been meeting with the Walpole Fire and Police Chief to set up an active shooter training for all 3 of our school buildings. I want the staff to feel comfortable knowing exactly what to do in each of their buildings. I've worked with Homeland Security and had discussions with staff about what are their immediate concerns that we can address right away. One of the things was the phone system that we currently have. Bill Bodding's coming in over the April vacation to address the concern that we had with the staff of when you do an all call, it goes to the phones, but it's very quiet. So now what it's going to do is that when you hit a specific button, it's going to every single intercom system in the school that can make the announcement of a lockdown or a state put if necessary. Because originally we were having to go to the office to direct that. So he's coming in April to do that. And then come May, we're going to be starting the trainings and everything with the staff and having the police come in. And I requested for them to be shooting blanks so that staff actually hear what it sounds like. And they're very open to that because we want to know. And it's important. So we're going to be doing that next month. And then a concern. No students. No students.
Thank you.
No, just with staff. No, just with staff. And then, sorry. And then a concern is a community member brought to me that I think he said 4 or 5 years ago, he was promised that the front entrances of all the schools were going to be looked at and fixed, done. I'm not sure, but he said he had conversations with school board members and was promised that was going to happen, and it hasn't happened. I can give you more information on that too. I reached out to Bill just to see if we could start getting prices and everything on that, just to have a look at, since, we're going through the process with all the other SAFE grants and everything as well, to do the impacts, but I told him that we would look into that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, before we get to the high school,
I have one question.
okay,
I'm sorry. Should I follow up with a question? I just want to make sure I understand from the other discussion we had. I had two other questions. Should I follow up with Justin directly or should I ask now?
Questions about
The interventionist position?
let's do that now.
Okay. So I want to make sure I am not confused, right? So I know people are upset about the sixth grade math/science teacher. But we're cutting that and keeping another position that's K-6 interventionist. Do I understand that?
Through the ESSER funds, we have that for one more year.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Did you have two questions?
No, that was kind of
Kind of,
two.
okay, thanks.
Doing what?
Yeah, I was hoping we could have, Caleb's student report.
Yes, that's
fine. That way they-
I was gonna recommend they go first,
Good.
but.
We're on the same page then, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Gil. All right, so, in our school in the past couple weeks, we recently just inducted our new National Honor Society of our juniors. I know because myself and, my friend Bryson were inducted.
Congratulations.
That was a lot of fun. I know our parents came and they enjoyed seeing that. Right at the day after that, we had our 8th grade transition night. So we had a bunch of 8th graders come in and we gave them tours and the option of missing out on the tours and instead going and looking at clubs. There was only one parent that decided not to do the tours. So everybody except for one person went on the tours from all our peer mentors, and I did not hear one bad comment about that. Up and coming, we do have a trip for Spanish students going to Costa Rica over April break, which I know all of us are excited for. And prom is coming up, so that is right the week after we get back from April break. I think that is all. Am I missing anything? All right.
Thank you. While.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Most definitely. We have these students here because they're on our consent agenda regarding an overnight trip to Canada. Does anybody have any questions for them while they're here? That way they can get off and go finish their homework and such.
They're going to Costa Rica and Canada.
No,
Yeah.
I have a
Some
whole,
of them.
yeah, some of us, yeah. I have a whole
Oh,
thing.
a
if
whole
you want.
presentation.
Well, I'm just gonna, I always hand out all of the information you could ever hope and dream of, so then you don't have to ask me millions of
Can you do it in
questions.
like a 1 minute?
You find people looking literate, so.
I keep trying to say to my son, you need to join that French group because they go on all these trips, but you need to not buy in it.
You're very welcome. The entire world language department goes on several trips.
You do know that I'm fearful that one of these times you're gonna present this in French.
If you'd like, they could, the three students that are here for French are all certified by.
Give me a couple months.
No, not this one.
So, it is a fine French program. We actually are rated best French program in the country nationally, if you haven't heard.
No, we haven't.
So, So this wonderful association, AATF, is the National French Teachers Organization, and we applied as a program, so we had to get administrative support, community support, student, parent, etc. To apply to be recognized as an exemplary program. There are 3 levels of that. The highest one is with distinction, which we actually won. So in addition to needing to present at the, and by the way, I'm Rebecca Forking, for those of you that better known as Manal. So, in addition to needing to present at the National French Teachers Conference, because Bryson and Jade have been accepted to present, and it is in Canada. We also are going to be receiving, the award for the exemplary program with distinction at that conference, assuming we get to go. So, there's some lovely information for all of you that like to look at things, but basically we're looking to go from July 23rd to July 28th up to Trois-Rivières, and then to Montreal, because if we're already going to be out of the country, we might as well make it worth it. So Bryson and Jade have already presented at the state level conference in New Hampshire a couple of weeks ago, to rave reviews, I might add. So we're now looking to bring it, nationally / internationally. So we are going to be taking my lovely vehicle up there because we cannot use a school vehicle. And we are going to stay at some hotels you can see listed. We're going to rent 3 rooms. So I have my own room. There'll be a boys' room and a girls' room. And then I've listed basic itinerary of what we're hoping to do, but I haven't booked anything. And I'm really hoping to get it approved tonight because things are already selling out at the conference and it got released last Wednesday. So basically, we're looking to do some traveling and sightseeing. We're gonna go to the conference for all 3 days that it is open. There's a walking tour that we can attend in French. There's a cabana soup, which is a sugar shack. And all of the activities for us are completely in French and in the language, which is awesome. And then we're gonna go to Montreal. We get to take circus lessons, we're hoping, all sorts of fun things that you can read about. We've been given a grant from the Fall Mountain Educational Endowment Fund to help pay for it. We're still hoping to fundraise $1,250 by selling lovely snacks, drinks, etc. at all of the spring sports.
Oh, that's a good way.
Yes, we also just got the vending machine up and running, so we have a Coke deal. And we are
Wait a
selling.
second.
That goes in the minutes. Like that. Yeah.
Cola.
It's kind of like Dunkin' Donuts is now Dunkin'. We just shorten it all up. That's like the French like to do. And then we're also gonna have a coffee fundraiser in the month of May. And we're hoping to make the gap of the $1,200. So then students, instead of paying $250 a person plus meals, would just pay for their meals. And I'm moderately confident we can do that. So that is what we'd like to do. I am happy to answer questions. Thank you. So going to Canada with your own car.
Yeah.
With students.
Can
we be sure to check with our insurer for the district to make sure that you'll have the right insurance in place? I know they allow it most insurance companies will allow it on a case-by-case basis, but I think we need to absolutely double check that. The school district has that policy in place, so I've submitted my insurance in order to take students in my car previously, and there's a copy of it with the office. In addition, you have to be first aid and CPR certified, which I am also certified, and it is on file with the office. So we have all of those things in place. Awesome. Because I take many trips.
That sparked my interest, Jeff.
Yes, I also have my school bus certificate, so I could drive a short van or a van or the short bus. Yes.
Do you have any coffee left?
We're gonna start selling it in May, but we
Oh,
will be,
okay.
yes, it's the one you got
Because
last year.
That was sensational. I mean, I really enjoyed that and I'm gonna double my order.
Oh, well, thank you. We'll be selling it in May, so you'll see it on like the United Page and Facebook and stuff.
Nice. Bring it to the school board meeting.
Okay, we will send it by.
We'll bring it, Gil and I will be there. We'll have cake.
Yeah.
You can set one out.
I did not.
You guys are gonna have to have a meeting that's this exciting. again if we're gonna do that.
Oh, yeah.
What are you saying?
I'm saying this was a very well attended meeting.
Yeah.
Any other
Always
questions?
How does the board feel about removing that from the consent agenda and giving either approval or disapproval?
Yeah.
While they're here.
I'll make a motion for that.
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
Motion to remove it. Oh, yeah, I'll second the motion to remove it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
All right.
I make a motion to let them go on their overnight trip to Montreal, Canada for July 3rd through July 28th.
July
Second?
23rd.
I was gonna say, that's a long time.
I was in France in the Netherlands.
What did I say?
July 3rd.
Oh.
And I love them dearly, but I don't want to be with them for an entire month.
23rd.
July 23rd.
Excuse me. 23rd.
I'll second that. I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Can't
you.
wait to hear about it when you come back.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, I'll turn it over to Tom for our. high
My
school.
positives have been shared.
Your negatives are shared.
So my negatives have been shared with respect to environmental disciplinary actions. But I don't know the code yet. Okay, I don't know. And the only FYI is save the date, January 17th of January. June 17th is graduation.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, Alyssa has to be there.
Yeah.
I'll be. I look forward to shaking all of your hands. All right, we don't have,
Someday I'm gonna make it so I can remember this, but I said it.
Kristen, Sandra.
oh, gosh. Yeah. All right, other administrators, does anybody want to go first in particular? Sandra?
I don't have a lot to report. Things are going well, positive. I reached out, had a great conversation with Turning Points through our behavioral program that we're posting in Charlestown. Very supportive, very excited. I'd say Sullivan County has a lot of resources that we're able to tap into, which has been great. I've been able to reach out to a mental health provider that's very interested, that might be able to work with us for that program 16 hours a week. And I've also already arranged for a BCBA to do 3 days a week. So it's been a nice connection that way. On the concern, I would say one of the concerns with the reconfiguration is just my related service of our space. And everybody's just gonna have to remain flexible and patient while everybody gets things figured out. That can be difficult for people. Because they don't know where their space is gonna be. It's probably gonna be shared space when we have to be flexible with department heads, you know, it would be the same space. They're gonna be back in the closet. Right, so people are concerned about that and just will school board to know. School board to know. I guess still struggling to get an admin assistant, so I'm going on my 6 months without an admin assistant. It's been kind of, I have to say, I love my job, but it's been tough. So. I have a referral for you. Right, right in my way.
While on the subject of trying to figure out where people's space is it possible for us to consider for the fall having a central location where each of those people have their own either small closet or where they can keep their things, like, well, they're not always there,
I get it.
but like where they get their mail, where they're considered their home school.
So we do have central office and they do have a space. A lot of the resources have at least a desk and a chair and something there, but some people have space out in their schools, like our speech assistants. And they do get a desk and a chair as much as we can in the hall to kind of a corner. So I do try to create that for everybody. I think it's important that everybody has at least a desk and a chair, and a space they call their home at work, even if it's not a great space, it's your space.
And not just a cart.
Yeah, and not just a cart, right, for everybody. So we do strive for that. I just think while we're trying to figure out the reconfiguration, where things are gonna be, some people are gonna be concerned about that. I think we'll find space. We were talking about that earlier. Corey and I we just don't know what that is right now. We're just gonna have to wait and see how we can work it out. But we'll look at central office, but have to try to create a little corner for people. So
Every inch of the middle school will be utilized next year. So we will do our best to accommodate all of the folks that we have with, like, you said, their home based space, but instruction will likely happen everywhere.
you're going everywhere. I think it's one of our challenges always with related service. I've talked to the board about this before, is having people feel like they're a part of something.
Yeah.
And that's been the struggle. And that's my struggle with keeping people sometimes. They don't feel as if they're a part of a school or they're a part of, like, your central office, but you're not really there as part. So.
Danny, you have a question?
So just because Central used to be in Charlestown, right? I don't know if we struggled to find space for folks, if we could reach out to the town to see if there was anything in any of the town buildings that during the week might be able to be used.
Well, we do have the North Charlestown School. Only. the preschool is making-
Well,
Is
no,
it
but I mean,
possible?
yeah, I mean, just to think out of the box on maybe what can be done in that respect, even nearby.
Yeah, you want to be careful, right, with North Charlestown, because even though it on the forefront, it may seem like a great idea, but if people are spending gas to get there, but their main location is the Charlestown Middle School, it doesn't make any sense. However, I may know somebody in town that might be able to think about some building space that might be used a little bit closer to the middle school. We can certainly look around.
I mean, we've done that at other. I'm open to ideas. Other towns. We've done ideas, any kind of creative ideas, I have would be great.
Good if we do something else.
Right.
So I do like the North Charlestown school idea. I'm
I know.
not saying I don't,
I
but
know that there are people who come from the north and they could stop there. So we can have a discussion about it for sure.
Okay, and last. The last time that I spoke to you, I talked about how we had been notified by the state that we were gonna have desktop, or on-site monitoring, but then they told us no, but it wasn't official, but then we got official word. And so we were taken off, desktop or on-site monitoring for access testing because the state had made a mistake and we had tested all of our students. So Kyle O'Brien tested all of our students again this year for access testing. So we completed that. So remember, access testing is for all of our English language learners. So it's all about proficiency for reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Gail actually got 2 new ELL students just last week. So we now have 8 students in the district K-12 English language learners. So Kyle will be spending a lot of time in Ackworth coming up. And so he's been, non-speaking Spanish. No, not Spanish. Oh, right.
Farsi.
Oh, my.
Right. So Kyle and I are actually going to be meeting on Thursday because those students do not need to take the English portion of the New Hampshire state assessment, but they do need to take math. Well, only one of them because it's 4th grade. So we'll probably have them opt out of the state assessment, but it doesn't count against them anyway. So that's what I want. That's my good news. The piece that I want you to know is I met with Tom and Jenny Crawford, who's a special educator here at the high school. We're going to be adding iReady to the high school next year. So we will now be using iReady basically K through 10th grade. We're going to be focusing on 9th and 10th grade next year because really iReady uses it's mostly good for 10th grade. We can actually test 11th grade as well. But it's really the instructional path that's allowed for iReady is only good up through 8th grade. So we really want to focus on those students that are 2 or more grade levels below where they are. So if we stop with the diagnostic at 10th grade or 11th grade, then we'll be able to focus and use the instructional path for those students that are really at the 7th or 8th grade level. We're actually be testing a group of students this spring because we've done some restructuring of classes at the high school, and we're going to use that data for some teachers to do some instructional planning. So they're going to use that data and do some instructional planning this summer. So my concern, which someone kind of alluded to earlier with the restructuring of Charlestown, and then with the elimination of the 6th grade teacher at Walpole, but also even with being a math and science teacher down and the restructuring at the high school, there's a lot of change and a lot of instructional planning that needs to happen and curriculum work that needs to happen in the district. As you know, the teacher CBA, we allow for up to $20,000 of summer project work. And so we have, I oversee that. Teachers can apply for applications. Before I asked Misty to send out a reminder of summer applications. Previous to Misty's email this morning, I had 5 summer project applications that involved 23 teachers. I had some teachers that were on repeat projects, not repeat projects, but some repeat teachers on different projects. But it was a total of 16 days, a total of 10,400. So half of what I had budgeted for. The most I can budget by the CBA is $20,000. After Misty's email, I received 4 additional applications that involved 11 teachers. There were repeat teachers on those 4 projects, which asked for a total of 31 days and totaled $14,880. Last year, I had $27,000 that was requested for summer projects, and I'm already up close to $25,000 so far this year. So I contacted the administrators today and said that I wanted to bring this as a concern because I wanted to raise it to them that we need to have this conversation, that we need to talk about as an administrative team next week when we meet about looking for some other sources of funding, whether that's using some excess funding this year, or whether we look at ESSER or something, but we've got to do something to support teachers this summer. And so I wanted you to know that that's a huge concern for me. I want to be able to use the summer project money, but I can't support everything as well as what we normally use summer project money for, which is some of these kind of cool projects that teachers want to do. And so I want to raise that as a concern.
Yes.
So too soon to have an idea of how many days, how many people?
Yeah, I mean, I very well could have gotten a few more summer projects. I did let the administrators know that I have, a lot of teachers will call me and say, hey, I'm thinking about the summer project. What do you think? And I will often say to them, well, have you thought about this? The district is focusing on this. Some teachers say, well, I focused on this last year for my summer project, or our group focused on this. You know, what do you think about this? And I'll say, well, we talked a little bit about this. How about focusing on this? How about stretching your project? So I know that there's some other projects coming in because I haven't seen those from these people, but I'm also anticipating that I don't know projects that are out there. And I'm also anticipating that I'm going to get other projects from Charlestown, and then I might also see a project or two from the high school that I'm not aware of. And there might be something also coming from Alstead.
Following?
Yes, I'm sure.
So I'm sorry, I should have asked that in a different manner, because I don't think, thank you
You're welcome.
for your expanded answer. But any thought from the principals on what that might look like for the folks that you've been talking with? Too soon? Too soon?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
you're gonna have a meeting
We're
and then
having a
bring us
meeting next
numbers?
week.
Okay.
Next Thursday.
All right.
So for the board, I don't, when you say that it's in the CBA, that means we have this amount.
Right.
But we do have a significant surplus at the moment.
Yeah,
Is
well,
this something we can do with that or not at all? How do you?
no.
be used, it's gotta be used by the end.
Within the fiscal year that you're in. So the answer is yes, but you could, with some of the potentially 5 day, you could go all the way up to June 30.
Or there's 4 days.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, so
I
that
understand
is-
that, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because you have to have it done by the end. so.
Right.
But no, we'll have a
However-
conversation and yeah.
however, that doesn't mean, which is not a popular idea the last time I brought it up, but hey, we're all learning together here. Doesn't mean that some projects that we might not have in next year's budget that we could pull back and get done sooner in order to open up funds
that you
for
could then
this same
use for the summer. Yeah.
situation, but that would require approval from the board.
And we have a limit of, for that kind of thing or?
No. New Hampshire does not limit you on that, but we want to make sure that if we do that, we're pulling money from projects that are within the same, you know,
Yeah, you'd have to be able to get it done and all that, but I think that's.
but within the
That's a good
same,
idea.
within the same budgetary
Correct.
units.
Yeah.
So when you meet next week, you'll have a better sense of what can be completed by June 30th.
By June 30th, and there are other things we can pull back and complete by June 30th.
Even, you don't even have to, if it's so.
Correct, yeah, we could.
All you
encumber
have to
it.
do is start it.
Yeah.
Right, and have it encumbered. It has to, you have to break ground on it. And then you can take it over.
That's the.
that's
new
over
high school
shovel.
we're building.
It's ridiculous, but that's how it
No,
works.
that makes sense. We'll just get a few silver shovels and get.
Exactly, you're like, you know,
Thank you. Does anyone have any more questions?
file the permits.
Cool, thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. All right.
I make a motion to accept the consent.
Well, we don't have, do we need a business report?
So,
Anybody able to-
so I just have two questions on this. Okay, that I wrote on them, sorry, if I screwed that up, just write it out, okay? I signed it because I reviewed them all,
Yeah.
but I had two questions that I was gonna ask Mary tonight. So I'll just verbalize them, but they are written for the
Okay.
rest of the board, because everybody signed but me, so I'm last. Okay, so there were two expenditures that were made that I have a question on. One was on 321 voucher 1189, don't write it down because I already wrote it on
Oh,
the
right.
voucher itself, okay?
That's-
It's for 75,722. It's been charged to a holding account, 10, 15, 19. I'd like to know why. And the other one is on voucher 1193 in March 30th to a Matt Malace for professional ed services. Same account number in the amount of 5,000. I'm sure there's a reason. I'd just like to know what it is.
What was the second one again?
Matt Malace, professional ed services, $5,000. The other one was 75,000 to Gov Connection.
I know what Matt.
Matt is a guest speaker who's coming next month.
Yes.
Right, thank
Yeah.
you. I'm
That's
curious
not your
why the
question.
account
Yeah.
line was
Yeah.
used.
Yeah, that will have to check with Mary and
Right.
Lori.
It's not a normal line that gets used.
Then I second that answer. Can we have Mary's email us the answer?
Well, sure, or tell us next time she comes.
Well, a long time from now.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, I can
Yeah, it's on the vouchers, so
Yeah.
she'll see it.
check voucher question.
I put little question marks on the tab.
Okay,
Mary apologizes for not being here. She's not feeling well.
I'm sure, we all have, I know, I'm not here.
Right.
Yeah,
Don't go anywhere near North Charleston.
right.
Yeah, not the school.
I'll hold my breath driving by.
yeah, she had to do.
Probably should stay away from that.
All right.
Arrow.
Now, do you want to make that motion?
Can I
Yes, please.
make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I remember what's on there.
Everything but the first check.
Personnel,
Oh.
teacher contract.
Seconded.
Something you'd like to remove?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. The general assurances, item C, I'd like to bring it back. If we could bring it back, we have time. It's not
Oh,
due
sure,
till
yes, yeah,
I'd like to bring
Just
it
wanna
back just
remove it.
because it's a very long document and I have questions
sure.
on it and it's been a long night and Mary's not here.
Thank you.
So we're just gonna remove it. and bring it back.
Please,
Do you wanna
if
bring
we
it back to the
could.
next
No,
meeting?
Yeah, either way, whatever.
It's fine,
Yeah.
because it's June 30, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah, we'll bring it to the, yeah. we'll bring it to
First
the
Wednesday.
meeting. Yeah.
All right, so, do I need a new motion to accept the consent agenda without that item?
I don't think so. I think we just,
Either way, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda without that.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Committee reports. We have anything
No,
coming back to the
the
agenda?
two, it goes between the first and second page.
Okay.
Well, I thought you were.
Oh, well, I didn't write. I didn't.
Oh, I didn't even get it.
Give me the updated version.
Well, no, I can't make it, I can't make it.
Hold on. I'm gonna make a-
yeah, we decided to use the date of, the last date for students, so June 22nd.
Yeah.
Instead of the date that was originally on there.
Okay. I move. I'm gonna find it now. No, it's just, it's a different motion. I move to approve $1,000 essential worker bonus for all full-time 30+ hour week support staff, related service providers and non-union staff employed at SAU60 as of June
22nd.
2023. Said monies to come from our ESSER or ESSER 3 grants. This motion does not affect the essential worker bonus that was negotiated as part of the teachers' union contract.
Seconded.
Excellent. Any discussion?
We're talking equity again.
Why the additional, would you say 30 hours a week?
I think the notion when we had, yes, you had that, yeah, but we have different, unfortunately, because of the way that our system works. People who are full-time might be considered 30 hours, 32 hours, or 35 hours, or 40 hours, depending on if they're New Hampshire retirement system eligible or.
So, I mean, all the way down to 30 hours, it just seems strange to me. I think New Hampshire says 35 hours is full time.
Well, the paras are 30,
Yeah,
Hours are 30.
right.
Okay.
Their agreement.
So
Some
No,
are. Correct.
Okay,
So it was basically trying to capture all the employees who are working here on a regular basis, but not capturing someone that came in like for 3 days or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, 2 hours a week.
guy that came in to touch up the wall or something.
So, yes, so do we know if you have any employees under 30 hours? I
Oh,
mean,
of course, we definitely have employees under 30. Who would be, it depends on how you consider an employee, right? Because what coaches,
oh, I see what you're saying, okay.
Even split positions for, paraprofessionals, you may have a 3-day
Ah.
week and a 2-day a week.
And I have
person
like,
due to
I still
college
have
schedules.
somebody 5.5 hours as a para.
yeah,
So, okay, I'm sorry I wasn't here at the last.
yeah.
No.
I was in negotiations, which
No
was so
worries.
much
You're
fun.
fine.
Why wouldn't you do it based on? Anyone over 30 gets 1,000, anybody below, it's based on FTE.
That wasn't what we had talked about, and that was
Okay,
why,
so
and
it
it was
just wasn't
asked to sort of put some parameters around it.
Yeah, I just don't want to miss anybody.
No, and I get
Because I
that,
think that breeds contempt. You know, I mean, or, you know,
familiarity, I heard.
yeah, okay, well.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
you know, when you talk about somebody that job shares, you know, like
Yeah.
somebody does Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, another person does Thursday, Friday or whatever. It's like if you put that 2 people together, they would have got this bonus. Can't you give me each 500?
Well, you know what I could do if the board wants me to, is we could go forward with this. And then we could see if anyone wasn't included, and I could come back with exceptions and the board could make an agreement on that.
Yeah, I think that's important.
But,
I do. I feel that's important that, you know, if something's gonna be levied, that people who have been here and working through, you know, the same types of pressures, even if it wasn't, you know, full-time by the union agreements, that they should still be recognized for their service.
Do you want to make an amendment to the motion?
I don't know if it makes it easier or harder.
Or is it something that we put on the first agenda for the first week in May and have a more complete picture of?
Who you're talking about, what positions they are.
I know in thinking about all my bodies, I know I've got probably 22 people who have either, you know, weird schedules, right? Or they're 0.6, you know, 0.4 is 0.6. Whatever, and I just would rather prorate them and have them get something than have them left behind and get nothing.
I would love if the board could make that motion. My concern is that you can't without knowing all the
Yeah,
permutations of it.
Okay.
So to me, what would be the cleanest is either to move forward with this and then come back stating publicly that, you know, we're gonna look at it and see if there's other people that would qualify, or bringing it back en masse in May. The only thing with that is I think some people are pretty excited to see that on the agenda this time.
Yeah,
I like
hear you.
option 1. I think we had pretty significant conversation about it last time.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
It's a good one.
It's like,
No, they know.
I have no problem with moving forward with it as long as we look
yeah,
back.
why don't, I'm happy to do that. I'd love to honor, well, I would want to say honor, you know, we've been calling these people essential workers. You know, in terms of making them work, but, you know, I'm not sure they've gotten the props that they deserve necessarily. I don't mean in Fall Mount, I mean writ large and let's say the state of New Hampshire.
I would like to encourage the administration to send that word out so that if people know that we are continuing to talk about it. So those, because I know there was a time when we cut all of the 8 positions to just below where they got benefits.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how many of those we still have, but that wouldn't be, that's not fair.
That's not fair.
So I just made a note, if this works, any position under 30 hours will be reevaluated at the next meeting.
Yeah.
So
That
sure.
works.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
seeing no change to the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.
Thank you.
All right, so. As I understand, we do not have anything planned for our 424 workshop. It was originally going to be the strategic plan, but in a little bit of discussion, we thought perhaps putting the strategic plan on the schedule when we have Dr. Spence here, so he can give his input. It's also a major part of his background. He could bring a lot to the table. We thought perhaps pushing that off, filling 424 workshop with a different agenda item.
I won't be here.
Yeah, it's also.
So it's
school
also.
I'm gonna be
vacation
in the
week, so
Bahamas,
there was the question.
I
of
can't
whether or
even
not the
see
board
you.
wanted to hold a meeting or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm on school vacation this week, folks. I know how important you are.
Yeah.
I don't have that capability in the Bahamas. That's a
They
good
do
place
not have
to
that capability in the Bahamas.
But you're right, on 424, I will be in Tulsa.
Oh, there you
So
go.
that's for you down
Yeah.
anyway.
And I'm on vacation.
I think it would be, I think this board has done its due work and has put in a bunch of hours. I think having a week off might be nice to refresh everybody. And I'm not gonna be here, so.
All right, then,
Can Zoom, yeah.
I guess consensus of the board then.
No.
So perhaps we will meet again in May.
Yes.
Perfect.
I didn't say you, I said I could. do.
Oh,
But can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
So, in light of tonight's meeting and people that showed up and everything, I've always found that it's really hard for me to make a educated, the right decision when a group, a small group, I might add, from any town comes in to either voice their displeasure or make a request or whatever. And the things that I know that are in stone, right, is that the Charlestown withdrawal warrant failed. And the two petition articles this year from Walpole failed. And I don't know, you talk about a site-based committee having all of this input and want their opinion to be the law of the land. I don't know how representative that is of communities in large. And I've always felt that my job is to represent the communities at large and just do the best that I can. And hopefully,
I would like to second that with this little caveat. 516 for, 149 against the budget from Walpole. I don't think that was an accurate representation of what Walpole wants. This is much more of what Walpole wants.
Can I also make a statement? There was many times stated that there was no discussion about cutting of positions. We talked ad nauseum about.
yeah,
cutting
and I
of
hadn't quite finished, but I was gonna
I'm
say
sorry.
that everybody's always reactionary, right? Multiple posted meetings, budget hearings, even the deliberative session, that this could have easily been talked about. I don't know, I think we need to do a better job trying to get people to come in before the 11th hour,
To that point, who's still here? We're talking about these things.
Right.
And they're not here.
I mean, those might read it, but Justin hears it,
Right.
administrators hear it.
Mhm.
I don't,
I have a question.
You have more. than
No,
you.
that was all I wanted to say.
Okay.
I just really wanted it in the record that, we talked a lot about that in all of the debating and deliberating, and we came to a compromise with the budget committee, there was 8, there was 4, and we came to 6, so,
Yeah, I think, and this is for the administration. I think it would be helpful for us, because when folks do come and they put that much work into a site-based committee, because it is a lot of work, and they do show up and they do, try to help the administrators in, getting the message out and getting things accomplished, and they do put a lot of work into it. I think it would be helpful for the board, because I have no idea. I unfortunately, I made it to one, I think, in Alsted, and I my schedule doesn't allow me to get to a lot of site-based. I think it would be helpful if we had an idea of like how many site-based folks, what is your volume of folks that participate, right? Because when you hear, but when you hear the site-based is speaking for everybody in Walpole, and I mean, it's a small group, right? And they have a vested interest, obviously, because it's their kids or their grandkids or, or their ex-teacher, whatever it is. We get involved because we have a vested interest, and that's true of any of us, people sitting on the board, But I think it's helpful if we have an idea of maybe like how many people are invested in the process, so that we can maybe try to, hear from them sooner if there's an issue. Maybe we have to make a better job of getting there. Can't go to all 5 though.
On the same subject, though, I'm still learning this job. I really don't know what powers we have, but we have a policy that does say the principal, under the supervision of superintendent or his designee, is in charge of the administration, supervision, and operation of the individual school program. I don't think we have the ability here to override what the principals want to do. Is that correct?
I think we have the ability, but I don't think we have the right. I think that's micromanaging. And
Yeah, I
our
agree with that.
job is to put the right people in the right positions and trust their judgment.
Yeah, that's my feeling too. And this is what.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say to the board, and actually maybe the administrators too, I've spent some time looking at the policy. We do have a policy on site-based. And one of the things it says is that minutes of the meeting should be distributed to the superintendent, who then distributes them out to the board. That would give you more information about that.
Right.
The other thing I was going to say is a couple of people brought up, we were sending out this stuff for 20 years, telling the community how to vote, or, what the thought of the site base was. That stopped because our attorney said that was electioneering.
Right, it's illegal.
Yeah, and we were trying to avoid
Yep.
falling into the electioneering thing. And part of the reason why it's electioneering is the relationship
Site-based.
between site-based in the school. It's written in our policy. It's too close, according to our attorney. So either, the board or people may want to distance it so that you could do that, but at least maybe getting a clear understanding of roles and responsibilities.
And sometimes that's unfortunate that we can't say that, because I heard that multiple times this evening, that site-based has some magical power, and all of a sudden the board or somebody this year stomped on it. And I have been part of the Charlestown site-based for a while now, and I can assure you we didn't have any magical power. Half the time we weren't heard by the board, so but it would have been nice to have informed the residents that were here that were ill-informed or maybe misinformed, that it's actually considered electioneering and that it's against the law.
I would like to see a letter go to the site-based
All of
committees,
them.
all of them, committees plural, with that information coming from you, if that's possible, so that they know we have heard them.
Or coming from the attorney in writing. They should be able to give you a statement in writing
Oh, yeah.
as to the relationship and why it's not the best
Yeah.
thing to do. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? So that way, at least if there are changes that could maybe be made that would allow them to have more of a voice, then we can look at those. I do want to thank, I wasn't here when this was done. And so I do want to thank Mr. Vickers, Wes, for dropping this off so that we can look at it again, because we have been talking about trying to update and look at our articles, because they are antiquated, right? And so perhaps,
But that's, he made a big thing about this being the entire communities.
well,
And
it was a lot of people from different places.
define a lot.
Well,
7?
And then,
How many?
and then I would like to know how those people were chosen to come together, or are these just kind of their opinions from being like?
I mean, I think it's worth reading. It's good.
I think there's some interesting information. in it.
Absolutely.
It is. It's
I would like to
worth it.
express that I've not read this letter. Probably.
So then again, I say,
I-
who are
yeah,
these
that.
people?
We were simply a group of people who had a vested interest in moving forward and not letting the information that came out during the withdrawal studies
A lot of.
get lost.
Yeah,
We
we-
had a really great momentum to make some good change. And I think that is what is happening by the group of people that's sitting here, by our administrators that are here, by the fact that, you know, sometimes the communities do pay attention to what we're doing. We have really good momentum.
Even if it comes out as negative in the beginning, it means that there's quite possibly an avenue for change,
Yes,
right?
And it can be looked at as a positive thing.
absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
When are we slated to do, so look at the articles of agreement, what, we talked this, that's a big.
That would be.
It was, yeah, I think it was
April?
yes.
24th, right?
Yeah,
When we
it was,
canceled.
no.
That's
Hold on.
strategic plan.
Let me find your calendar.
We're not doing that while you tell us.
I would do it via Zoom.
We do have one coming up
I
though.
think, is it May?
Both of those articles of agreement proposed changes passed. I didn't do the math on them. Did you
Yeah,
get
it
the
is.
2/3
Yes.
majority? to-
District wide, they did.
District wide.
They only got a simple
Because that
majority in
really talks
Charlestown.
Articles of agreement. when-
Oh, yeah, it was definitely
Yeah.
a majority.
Which,
Oh,
which
so
I point out, was adamantly told that they probably wouldn't be passed unless we got out there and really harped on them.
Oh, I see
And
what
they
you're
did
saying.
pass, and I would just stress that I think they passed because people want to see those changes occur.
So what'd you find?
So the board did not, we did leave the May 22nd open, to be determined. But we did not
We
set
stuck-
something
no,
in
we
the
did.
summer for
We
our.
just, well, I'm sorry. We put something in the May one though.
That was the Jedi stuff, right?
Yeah,
Jenna?
Yeah, no, I'm saying that when we set their calendar
yeah.
in the
that was
summer,
open.
we did not put, this
Yeah.
was an open date. We ended up putting the DEI workshop on this date. We did not set something aside to discuss articles of agreement when we built this calendar.
All right, we should.
We
We
can,
need to pick.
we can
another
add
date.
it to, we can add it to the summer agenda.
Or have a
Yep.
separate meeting.
Did somebody say we were having a Jedi workshop?
Justice, equity, diversity, and integrity.
Yes.
Should I bring my thing?
Sorry, called Jedi, but it's, yeah.
Do you want to add something to, so we only have one meeting in June. Historically, we could just stick with our fourth meeting of the month in June, if you want to look at your calendars, and
it's
we can just go
important.
ahead and.
Absolutely think it's important, and I think
I think a lot of us said we should go through the summer meetings, but that wasn't popular with some of us.
People in Tulsa.
I think if we're gonna,
Please.
if we're actually gonna work and accomplish something, I have no problems going through this summer.
we
You
could
may-
do
you may
workshops. We
wanna-
don't necessarily need a business meeting in the summer, but we could.
Do we want to wait until the superintendent comes on?
So I don't
have
wanna
that
go
bigger
on another
discussion then?
retreat. That thing was horrid.
It was not
What,
horrid.
summer?
I fed you, you did good work, you came up with plans.
Retreats, trees.
Yeah.
Comfortable setting.
Well, that wasn't my doing. I tried.
Drinks.
I did. that.
No,
I watched the guy roll.
I tried.
Where's
flat
the-
chip
I know you did.
trash.
Okay, so,
So back on that, I know we just had that conversation,
Yeah.
but do we want to wait until the new superintendent comes on board though, before we start having that bigger conversation?
I would like to get a date listed.
Yep, no, that's
And
fine, but
then
I'm just saying.
If
the
it doesn't
20
work
might not be
for
it.
him, then we could move it,
I
but at
don't think
least
we
we
need him for
could.
this conversation.
I
What's
think
that?
it is a large
You
enough
don't?
conversation that we should be on the same page. And then when we bring him in, because we're gonna be educating him on this convoluted system, then, and
Yeah.
we need to be on the same
It
page
makes
so we
sense
can
to
then
be
bring
part of
him
it.
in. So I would like to meet the 20 whatever of May.
So,
And then look,
Oh,
You said June, or you put
Yeah,
Jedi
We
to
already
June.
have.
no,
something
Jedi's in
scheduled.
June, May,
Jedi's
sorry.
yes.
Yes, I mean June.
Okay.
And then I would like.
Are you
to do
sure?
No, I'm not. Without a calendar in front of me, you know.
It's the 26th.
Last day of
June.
school,
I'm here.
Which
The
is
last day of
last
school is on
for
Monday.
staff. For
Or
staff.
staff.
As long as
Do
I-
you-
as long as it's not.
I am not
want-
here that day.
To have
I don't-
the attorney at that meeting, or are
You
we
do have
just
copies.
narrowing
No,
down
I know.
what we might go after next?
I think we just need to have a discussion amongst
Yeah, let's have a
ourselves,
discussion
And have-
without them first.
because there's gonna be so many questions, we can narrow down the questions we have,
Right.
and not have them just sitting here.
Right.
Collecting money.
Yeah, exactly. Then we can send the questions ahead.
Mhm. And then I think we can schedule something for the summer where we can bring in Dr. Spence and have that conversation with him as well and all.
I think a
Workshop one.
Yeah. workshop form where you're doing some planning ahead.
Before
It's
he
important.
signed the contract with
No.
you, Sarah.
I'm sorry, what?
You didn't show him the articles of agreement before we signed the contract, did you?
I said there was a thing called.
We didn't spend a lot of
and we'd teach you about it.
Okay, so now we've got that scheduled.
Screen.
We're all good for that. Can we move on to committee reports? Anybody have anything they'd like to report?
I do. There's going to be at the Cheshire Career Center, there's going to be a Friends of Cheshire Career Center evening. And they are asking for an RSVP if folks want to go to it. I'm gonna go. And anyone else who wants to go, I think it would be good to go. Just so that we can, the more we can acquaint ourselves with what's happening at the career centers, the better we're gonna be able to move forward with having our kids go and stuff.
Okay.
And then, in terms of the those folks across the river, they have been working a lot with the state of Vermont, about just career center, the CTEs in general in Vermont. And getting, getting things. And just trying, their CTEs across the state were state of the art when they were built. And like the Cheshire Center, not Cheshire Center, the River Valley was really state of the art when it was first built, but that was a long time ago now. And so there are upgrades and updates that need to happen across the state for the CTEs. And there are some centers like River Valley that are standalone and they're their own district. There's others that are part of other districts, and River Valley used to be part of Springfield School District, and they split. So that they were their own district and have their own board, but these folks have been doing a lot of work with the state in terms of that and that moving forward, so which I think is really good. It's very good for our kids in general, so.
I think they're letting loose money too.
They are
In Vermont.
They are seriously thinking about it, yeah, which is good.
Yes.
Can I add that normally in this meeting, my understanding is that we normally reassign committees because this is that meeting. We talked about in our planning meeting. Just keeping our committees till the end of the school year. And then, as we talked about earlier, rethinking our committee assignments in the first place and making them more action oriented, like Articles Agreement Committee and the Strategic Plan Committee. And as you start to, does that plan start to coalesce and revisit that? So are we just okay with keeping our current committee assignments until we figure all that out?
I am.
Sounds good. Okay.
Well, the only other one I would like to bring up is, obviously, the budget committee did pass and stay as a, yes.
Statutory.
Statutory, thank you. So my question is, do you want to take them up from somebody else?
The reason it was so good
No.
was because we had
You
so
had-
much knowledge.
You had a lot of really good people on your committee, okay, and I don't know that everybody would agree it was good, it was painful, I know, I'm sorry. But. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right, because I do it every day. So I mean, it makes sense, if you have somebody that actually lives it and does it, that can explain it, to keep them there. I'm fine with that, it's gonna be my last year of my real job next year, so.
And I would also like to make an announcement here that Jamie is actually.
Oh, no.
Business Administrator of the Year. She has
Are you?
received it.
Hey. Very nice.
Could have said that with a big audience here.
Well, I don't know. But,
Well, thank you.
That's cool.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Nothing, go ahead.
anybody, you need a motion?
The draft started at 7.
Oh, God.
She wants to get moving.
We're gonna still continue with Jamie as our representative to the budget committee.
Sure.
Definitely.
Excellent.
She was drafted on.
And we will address the rest of the committees and their makeup. Perhaps at our summer workshop.
Yeah, I voted no, by the way.
Majority rules,
Okay.
baby.
Is there anything else that needs to come before the board?
It's just treasurer's report. You gotta approve your treasurer's report.
I'm glad we're all back still together. Though. I mean,
You brought back the barrel.
I know.
we already
have
do it,
momentum.
right?
Yeah, you just have to, I
Just have
think,
to approve it.
verbalize it.
So I make a
Approve it.
motion that we accept the treasurer's report in the total amount of $1,796,727.67.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, for the record, I didn't get a chance to go meet with Mary to go over that in person because quite frankly, as I told Andy, we only get 1 week a year for me to put my driveway from my lawn back on before the black flies come out.
Yeah,
And I took advantage of it and I got it all back on my, I got the driveway back on my driveway. Got the lawn raked and I did it without getting attacked by black flies and I was very proud. of myself.
Yeah. Go. I make a motion to adjourn.
No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Well, thank you all very much.
thank you.
Congratulations.
All
Chair.
right, let's do.
Congratulations to the chair and to the business administrator of the year.
Yeah. Wow.